Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're navigating some pretty complex signals coming out of Moscow.
Yeah, specifically looking at recent remarks from President Putin, there's a real mix of messages.
Definitely. High-stakes stuff. We're seeing these, intense military threats, warnings about escalation.
But also, almost in the same breath, some specific invitations for diplomacy. It's quite the package.
So our goal today, for you listening, is really to unpack these signals. What are the real flashpoints Moscow sees?
Exactly. Where are those hard red lines? And maybe just as importantly, are there any doors left open for talks? Where might they see a way forward?
And it seems like the immediate spark for this latest round of rhetoric.
It really kicked off, didn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it followed U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance's comments.
About Ukraine seeking Tomahawk missiles.
Exactly. And that Washington was apparently considering the request.
Right. And that seems to have hit a nerve, a real, visible tripwire for the Kremlin.
Okay, so let's get into that specific warning about the Tomahawks. Because it wasn't just don't send the missiles.
No, it was much more specific. Putin's language was pretty stark. He called it a potential completely new, qualitatively new stage of escalation.
Including in relations between Russia and the U.S. specifically.
Yes. But the really interesting part, I think, is how he linked the hardware to the people needed to operate it.
That's the crucial bit, isn't it? He flat out said using these missiles would be impossible without direct American military personnel involvement.
Which is, well, it's a very deliberate piece of strategic signaling. It reframes the whole issue.
Absolutely. He's essentially saying this isn't just sending equipment. He's using the technical side of it to argue it forces Washington to cross that huge red line, putting U.S. boots functionally on the ground.
Yeah, it dramatically dials up the perceived risk for the U.S. side. Suddenly, the decision isn't about munitions anymore.
It's about direct intervention, a massive strategic shift, potentially.
Right. He gets leverage by turning aid into a debate about direct conflict. But at the same time he does this, he also does the classic thing of downplaying the weapon's actual effectiveness, saying, Russian air defenses would handle it.
Right. He said it will certainly not change the balance of force on the battlefield.
Exactly. So maximum diplomatic threat, new stage of escalation, but also trying to reassure maybe his own people or even the West that militarily Russia can cope.
It's a calculated message, for sure. But then there's the practical side. We should probably mention the Reuters reporting on that.
Oh, definitely. That's a key piece of context. Sources suggesting the whole supplier might not even be feasible right now.
Because most of the Tomahawk stock is already earmarked for the U.S. Navy or other commitments.
Right. So you have this incredibly severe political warning.
Like top-level severity.
About something that logistically might be a non-starter anyway.
Which really highlights that maybe the Tomahawk itself is more of a symbol here.
I think so. It symbolizes direct U.S. involvement, deep strike capability, regardless of whether they can actually send them soon. It's the idea of it.
Okay. So that covers these sort of the missile side of things.
Yeah.
But the pressure isn't just about weapons, is it? We need to talk about the economic warfare angle.
Yeah, definitely. Let's shift gears to that, because Moscow seems just as concerned about what you might call non-kinetic support.
Like intelligence sharing.
Exactly. There was that earlier report, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, saying the U.S. would give Ukraine intelligence.
Specifically on long-range energy infrastructure targets inside Russia itself.
Yes, not just military targets near the front lines, but core economic assets.
That feels like a significant step, targeting intel aimed squarely at Russia's, revenue stream. Oil and gas infrastructure.
Huge. The stated goal is pretty clear. Help Ukraine hit these places to hurt Russia economically, deprive them of oil revenue capital.
So from Moscow's perspective, this must look like direct economic sabotage planned by the U.S.
That's almost certainly how they see it. It moves the conflict way beyond the battlefield in Ukraine. It becomes this international economic fight where the U.S. is essentially helping pick targets.
Targets crucial for global energy markets, too, potentially.
Right. It connects military aid directly to financial warfare. You're enabling stripes on their economic jugular.
Okay, so you have these intense military warnings about missiles and this deep concern about economic targeting via intelligence.
A really tense backdrop.
And then, almost out of nowhere, Putin pivots. This is maybe the most confusing part. The mix of threat and diplomacy.
Yeah, the juxtaposition is striking. Extreme strategic whiplash, as you said, after laying down these really serious red lines.
U.S. personnel economic sabotage.
He suddenly offers praise for Donald Trump, specifically about their last meeting in Alaska.
Right. He said he felt comfortable talking to Trump. He actually said it was good that we made an attempt to search for and find possible ways to settle the Ukrainian crisis.
That's not just generic diplomatic language. It's very specific praise, singling out one figure. It signals, perhaps, a preference or perceived openness with certain negotiators.
A selective olive branch, maybe? Designed to show some doors aren't completely shut?
Could be. But just as quickly as that warmth appears,
it vanishes again, right? When the topic shifts back to economic pressure, specifically at sea.
Exactly. The potential seizing of ships carrying Russian oil, another form of economic warfare.
And the response threatened here felt even more extreme than the Tomahawk warning.
Oh, absolutely. He used the word piracy to describe potential seizures.
Which is already strong language.
But then he escalated massively. He asked rhetorically, how do you deal with pirates? And answered his own question, you destroy them.
You destroy them. That is chilling language. Applying anti-piracy rules, which imply lethal force, to state actions like sanctions enforcement.
It's framing potential economic sanctions enforcement not just as illegal, but as an act of war justifying a military response against potentially allied or even neutral ships.
Wow. So it's a stark warning. Interfere with our oil trade on the seas, and the response could be deadly.
It seems designed to deter any direct interference with Russia's core global revenue streams. So you get these two messages side by side. One, we feel comfortable talking to certain people.
That's right.
And two, touch our oil shipments and we will respond with extreme military force. Very different signals.
So, to kind of round out this picture of contradiction, we should probably touch briefly on arms control, too.
Good point. Because amidst all this talk of escalation, conventional and economic, he also mentioned the New START treaty.
The nuclear arms control pact with the U.S. from 2010.
Right. And the key thing is, while threatening all this other escalation, he actually offered to extend the treaty when it expires next February.
So, okay, let's try and synthesize this. We have aggressive warnings on conventional weapons like Tomahawks, potentially involving U.S. personnel.
Yep.
We have threats against economic lifelines, both infrastructure targeted via intel and oil shipments, potentially met with lethal force.
Right. Very hard lines.
But then praise for specific diplomatic channels like talks with Trump and an offer to maintain nuclear stability via New START.
It seems like Moscow is trying to define multiple boundaries, some flexible, some absolutely not.
So the red lines, like U.S. personnel getting involved or attacks hitting core revenue sources, those seem pretty concrete, non-negotiable.
That's how it sounds. But the paths to de-escalation seem very specific. Who's doing the talking matters, like with the Trump comment. And the domain matters. Nuclear stability is still on the table via New START.
They seem to be pushing hard on conventional and economic fronts, testing limits.
Aggressively testing thresholds,
while keeping that ultimate ceiling, nuclear war, sort of walled off for dialogue.
It's like they're daring the West to escalate in certain areas while simultaneously pointing to the exact off-ramps they might consider under specific conditions.
Okay, so for you, listening to this, maybe the final thought to chew on comes back to where we started, with the Tomahawks.
I think so. That claim about needing U.S. personnel.
Putin explicitly tied the supply of these missiles to the direct involvement of American troops.
Which cleverly turns a debate about military aid, about hardware,
into a fundamental question about crossing that ultimate diplomatic red line. Direct U.S. military engagement.
Exactly. So for everyone involved, Kyiv asking for the missiles, Washington considering it, they have to realize Moscow has deliberately framed this decision.
It's not just about whether the missiles would be useful on the battlefield anymore.
No. The question becomes, is the potential military advantage of having Tomahawks worth potentially breaching that barrier of non-direct U.S. involvement in the fighting? Moscow has made sure that's the calculation.
It turns a logistics and supply chain question into this really deep strategic dilemma for Washington and its allies. What price are they willing to pay for what might be a limited military gain?
A crucial question.
Definitely something to think about. And that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time.